All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Hafner. I am a third-year PhD candidate at the University of Michigan in the Department of Microbiology and Immunology. And today, I would like to talk to you all about a talk entitled Manipulated Power, How Noroviruses Reprogram Your Cells During Infection, which is leading to an increase in their replication. And so if we dive in, first, I'd like to talk about what is a virus before we begin. And so I'm sure you all have heard about viruses because of the recent pandemic, and it's been all throughout the news. But what's interesting is I'd really like to give a true definition of what a virus really is. And so viruses are microscopic pathogens that invade our cells and can cause much destruction. And so now that we've got that basic general description out the way, we are all virologists now. And so what's interesting is that viruses are very, 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 very microscopic. And if we look at these images to the right, viruses can look really cool, actually. Well, this is one really my favorite right here. And I think all viruses look very cool, but what's interesting is that one thing they share in common is that, again, they are very small since they have to fit inside of our cells and they can cause much destruction. To give you all really an understanding of how small a virus truly is that if I'm a virus and my house is a cell, my body would then probably be the body would probably be the size of the Empire State Building, just to show you how small viruses are. So really, what I study within my research is I study noroviruses. And so noroviruses can come in multiple flavors, meaning that can infect different species. And so the first thing I study are human noroviruses, which you all may have heard of. And so just to give you some background information on human noroviruses, they are the leading cause of viral-induced diarrhea on the planet. It is estimated that there will be 658 million human norovirus infections per year. It is often referred to as the cruise ship virus. And the reasoning behind that is because usually if someone will have a norovirus infection, it is commonly come from vacation, usually on a cruise, since everyone is in very close quarters. And human noroviruses are highly infectious, meaning it really only takes a few particles released by an infected individual to infect an uninfected individual. And so other than getting it on vacation, really norovirus infections can come from contaminated food, contaminated water, and infected individuals. And if we think about some of the symptoms of a norovirus infection, we can see that a norovirus infection can result in debilitating, tiredness, loss of appetite, and unfortunately, you will have debilitating diarrhea and vomiting. And so, unfortunately, human norovirus infections also can be fatal, with 200,000 individuals dying per year of a human norovirus infection. Usually, those people are children, the elderly, or immunocompromised individuals. And really, why there is a high amount of infections and death is because there is currently no vaccines nor antivirals present to treat a human norovirus infection. And so really, the only way one can treat a viral infection is if we can grow it in the lab. And human norovirus, we are not able to grow within the lab. However, there has been the emergence of murine norovirus, which has allowed us to grow the viruses in the lab, and we can use it to study human noroviruses, how they replicate and how they cause disease. And so what's interesting is that marine norovirus has been so helpful because we can use it on a day-to-day basis, again, to understand how human noroviruses replicate and cause disease within humans. And so we're going to switch gears for a second and talk about our metabolism. And so you might be wondering why we're talking about our metabolism, and the reason why will become very clear very soon. But to give you a brief introduction to our metabolism, it is known as a series of connected chemical reactions that occurs inside of our cells to produce molecules we need for survival. And it is very complicated. This figure here is really one or two pathways that are connected. However, we're not going to think about it like that. We're going to think about ourselves as a chocolate factory, and we are all factory owners. All of our cells are factories, and that if we think about ourselves as factories, chocolate factory specifically, the specific type of things that occur to produce that chocolate are going to be our metabolic processes. And so as our virology final exam for all of you new virologists, we know that viruses are parasites that invade our cells to survive and can be highly deadly. We also know that noroviruses are a very common yet deadly pathogen and can come in multiple flavors, which means that we can have human norovirus that infects humans and murine norovirus that can infect mice. And additionally, our metabolism is a series of connected pathways that allows our body to function. And I want you all to think about ourselves as a chocolate factory. And so if we think about the current gap in knowledge, if we think about our current gap in knowledge, if we think about our current gap in knowledge, we know that viruses need our cells to reproduce. Think about a virus as a thief within our factory. And so we know that since they need our cells to reproduce, they will reprogram our metabolism to have more resources available to them to replicate. You know, viruses are very, very selfish, very, very selfish. And so unfortunately, us virologists, we're not too good at naming things. This is the field of viral metabolism. And so what's interesting is if we look at this figure, we can see that I've added thief icons on these blue boxes, which are specific viruses that have been known to interact with different metabolic pathways. Again, these different metabolic pathways, the virus is targeting and reprogramming to produce more of them. So again, they can have molecules available for them to replicate more efficiently. However, when we study metabolism, we usually don't study metabolism as a whole because it would be forever. Really, we like to focus on a specific pathway. And so my research focuses on glutamine metabolism, as we can see here. And you can see there is already a box of viruses that have been known to increase glutamine metabolism. And so what's interesting is the function of metabolism in norovirus infections are largely unknown. There has been some preliminary studies within the role of glucose or sugar and lipids, which are fats. But again, largely the role of metabolism in norovirus infections has not really been investigated. And so I'm hypothesizing that noroviruses require glutamine metabolism for optimal infection and have involved ways to increase the rate of glutaminolysis. As we can see within this figure, we can see norovirus is somehow causing an increase in glutamine breakdown, which again, we're seeking to understand. And if we go back to our icon here, where we have a factory, thinking about ourselves as a dessert factory, or a chocolate factory more specifically, we're thinking about how the thief is inside of our chocolate factory and is causing an increase in the production of sugar, for example, that the thief needs to survive. And so if we think about how noroviruses require glutaminolysis, what's interesting is I have data that I'm not showing here that is confirming that glutaminolysis is increased during norovirus infection. What I do want to show you all is that if we treat norovirus infected cells with a drug to block glutaminolysis, we show a decrease in norovirus replication. So if we can see here with both these figures, which are norovirus infected cells, were different cell types, we can see that the cells that do not have the drugs are in gray, and we can see a high growth of virus. But we can see the cells that do have the drug, which are different colors, with orange, yellow, and blue, we can see there's a pretty significant drop in virus replication, thus showing that the norovirus does require this pathway for its optimal replication. And so what's interesting is that continuing, we want to understand, how does norovirus reprogram glutaminolysis? And so how norovirus can reprogram glutaminolysis, I have investigated a specific molecule within the pathway called glutaminase. And we can see here that norovirus is causing this molecule to work more efficiently, which is fascinating. So if we look at this data, we can see our mock infected cells, which are cells that have not been infected with norovirus. And we can see the cells of different colors, which are cells that have been infected with norovirus. We can see here that this molecule, which we're reading as enzymatic activity, is working way more efficiently when norovirus is present within the cells compared to when norovirus is not. So again, one way to think about it, back to our chocolate factory example, is that the thief is somehow leading to an increase in the production of sugar in our chocolate factory that is leading to a higher production of chocolate. Whereas when the thief is not present, there is no increase in the production of sugar. And so what's interesting is that what I have really shown you all, to give you all just a summary, we know that viruses are very scary, very, very scary. However, the only way to overcome this fear is to learn more about their replication, which is highly important. I've also shown you that noroviruses target and reprogram your metabolism during infection, and how they do this activity is really unknown. And what my research is focusing on is how noroviruses reprogram one pathway, mostly glutaminolysis. And by uncovering how noroviruses reprogram metabolism, it could yield to possibly new treatment options, which we greatly need, since there are currently no treatment options for norovirus infection. And so I hope you all enjoyed being a virologist for a few minutes, and I've left you with words to look up later. And with that, it was very nice introducing myself to you all, and I hope our paths will cross someday.